I'd like to call the meeting to order for Monday, March 17th, 2025. Please rise for the pledge. Alderman Willie Cole will lead us in prayer.
Pray. Our Father in heaven, we pause to say, thank you for one more day in your land. Father, we ask you to be with us tonight as we go about our activities. We ask you to, first of all, we ask you to cover the responders, first responders, all the men and women of this community who have given their lives and time to serve and protect the citizens of Dyersburg. Father, we pray for them and their family. We pray that you continue to be with them and walk the beaten path with them. Father, we ask you tonight, as we go about our meeting, to give us, your board members, your members, the understanding, a sound mind, give us the heart, give us an attitude, give us discernment that we may do what is best for the people, the members of our community, not only in one ward, but throughout all the wards. We ask in Jesus Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, roll call. Please show all present here tonight. Next item, public comment. Nobody requested to speak tonight. Next item on the agenda, approval of comments. I entertain them, not comments, minutes. Approval of minutes from March 4th, 2025. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
Have a motion from Rick Crawford, second from Willie Cole. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Unfinished business. Any unfinished business? None. Under new business, we have two public hearings for a beer permit. Lieutenant Danley.
The first permit is for Applebee's on Lake Road at the mall.
Lieutenant.
Excuse me.
Thank you. I want everybody to hear you at home.
And see you.
Not good to be seen. The first permit is for Applebee's on Lake Road. They meet all the requirements and setbacks. Background investigation found nothing to prohibit issuance of a permit, and the police department recommends a permit be granted.
Okay, so that's Applebee's. That was in your packet, all the documentation, the ad, the investigation, CO, all of that's been done. Any questions about this?
Is this because of a sale?
Yes, transfer of ownership. A corporate entity out of California with corporate offices, I think in Michigan, has bought it. They own several Applebee's, IHOPs, and some other chain restaurants like that.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation from Lieutenant Danley. Entertain a motion to approve this.
Motion.
Motion from Joey Harrison, second from Vanetta. This is a public hearing. Anybody here in the audience wish to speak? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Lieutenant?
Second permit is from Juan Perez of Dogwood Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They're having a Jiu-Jitsu tournament at the fairgrounds, I believe in April. This will be a beer permit for that one event, a one-day permit. They've had the event in the past, did have a permit in the past with no problems. They meet all the requirements and setbacks. Background found nothing to prohibit issuance of a permit, and the police department recommends that the permit be granted for this event.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. This also is in your packet. We have done this once before, twice before. This is the third time. Obviously, this is where the fire department comes and they pay us to stay there because of the fire codes, and they have done that previous two times. We'll do it again for this one as well. So you've heard the recommendation from the chief, from the lieutenant. I'd entertain a motion to approve this.
Motion.
A motion from Ricky Hammond, second. Second, Joey Harrison. Any discussion? Says a public comment period. No one here wishes to speak to it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Lieutenant. Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Lieutenant, I want to go on public record to say this about you. You don't know how much we appreciate you in the morning. When you walking and take time to talk to us, wave at us, just flash your lights. The ladies really appreciate it.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, bids. Bids are in your packet, the last page. 4 bids tonight. First 3 will need a motion, a second, and vote by the board. Number 1, Solid Waste Department, repair the dozer, Unit 506, replace all pins, bushings, and bearings, repair a hydraulic leak. Budgeted nose, repair and maintenance item, emergency repair of equipment, types of machinery, $16,899.33. Entertain a motion to approve this repair. Dennis Moody with the motion, second. Second from Rick Crawford. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next item, Department Wastewater Intermediate Gearbox, to replace a 30-plus-year-old gearbox, budgeted nose, a repair and maintenance item. Emergency repair of the equipment, we received 2 bids, one from Applied Industrial Technologies, $38,995.60, and the second from Guthrie Sales and Service, $59,110. Bid was awarded to Industrial Technologies, Jackson, Tennessee. Since the gearbox was newer, the manufacturer had more than one source. So this was emergency repair. I'd entertain a motion to approve this.
So
Motion from Coach Cole, second from Mr. Moody. Was that you? All right, any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Item number 3, Professional Development Center, audiovisual upgrade to replace aging equipment. Budgeted, yes, that's the opioid grant that Dyer County received. Danny Walden does that for us at the EOC, the City of Dyersburg, not the EOC, the PDC. City of Dyersburg owns the Professional Development Center, and we use that a lot, and other outside agencies use that. So he has applied for a grant through the county to replace the audio-visual equipment. Had 2 bids, professional audio installation, $32,405.24. The Lawrence Sound Company, $44,697.72. And we're asking for the bid to be awarded to Professional Audio Installation Company, Martin, Tennessee, for $32,405.24. And this is no cost to the City of Dyersburg. It's paid in full by the grant from Dyer County. Any questions about this? All right, entertain a motion to approve it in a second.
move.
Motion from James Baltimore, second. Coach Cole. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. The next item does not require board approval. Pickleball court lighting, furnish and install lighting facilities. It's budgeted item through the ARPA funds. Dyersburg Electric sole bidder, $14,055.17. And the bid was awarded to Dyersburg Electric System for that amount, $14,055.17. Any questions about that? Do you don't get a motion on this because it's ARPA funds? Not necessary? Okay. Any questions? All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda, presentation, Dyersburg, City of Dyersburg Major Roads Plan, WSP Engineering, Emily Ritzler. Emily is here. She came at the Planning Commission meeting last Thursday and presented it to the Planning Commission. We want to adopt it tonight because it's the first time that we've had a chance for all the aldermen to see this, and we'll adopt it at a later date if that's okay with you. Okay, and if you want to come forward or there, whatever you want to do, whatever you're most comfortable
If
with.
you don't mind, I'm going to sit so I can control the computer. I have a very short presentation.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Are
Good
y'all's
evening.
monitors on? Can y'all see it?
Good. Are you able to see?
And it's on the screen behind you. Probably right underneath it.
So this will be short. Just some highlights from the major road plan. And good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me this evening. Emily Ritzler with WSP. We are the consulting team that's been working on this project. Just some quick background on it. The city received a transportation planning grant from the Tennessee Department of Transportation to do an update to the major road plan, with the primary objective being aligning the transportation elements with your land use and land use regulations. And one of the outputs of this is a geographic information system that can be used by the city, especially when looking forward at new developments and what are some of the needs for the transportation system moving forward and how you proceed with the land use components. So some of the elements in this are really focused on aligning the functional classification of the roadways. This is actually an exercise that the city did with the Department of Transportation in October, November timeframe of last year, and really making sure that these functional classifications do align with your different uses throughout the city of the properties. So there are several major types of roads. We have arterials, collectors, and local roads. And so what we've done is we've brought in that adopted piece of the work that was done with the Department of Transportation. And what you'll see in the back of the report that we've also shared is a table of every roadway and the associated functional classification that goes with that. Really, the objective here is to have all the information in a plan so that as you move forward and seek possible grants for either roadway improvements or even investments in economic development, that this is all located in one place and gives you some background information that's really helpful as you look forward to those funding opportunities. So I'm going to come back to this piece because I think I have to leave the slideshow to show you everything we did from a data piece.
Can you move a little closer to your mic?
Oh yeah, sorry. Let me see if I can pull it closer. Is that better? All right, great. We did collect a lot of data and information. I'm going to show you that in the database itself as we get through this a little bit more. But one of the key components of the work that we did is related to access management. And access management is really the level of control that a roadway has. So the number of driveways. So on an interstate, for example, that's a limited access or controlled access system, whereas local roads, you have a lot of access with a lot of driveways. So when we looked at the land uses in the area, one of the parts of the system that we looked at, especially in some of your commercial corridors, are the number of driveways and access points. And you'll see when I get to the data and show you the data, we really looked at the crash data, especially to see where you have a lot of interaction. So typically, less access means higher speed on the roadway. More access, you want a lower speed, is really how those two associate with one another. So we have recommendations for moving forward the level of access that you'll want associated with those different roadway classifications I was just talking about. And then we can really try to reduce the number of conflict points that you have moving forward and as you plan to move forward with new developments and things in the future. So what you'll see in the report, and we have it shown as a work in progress, is we have a couple of areas for recommendations, and this is the piece that we're finalizing, and this is your first read that we'll come back and finalize this. So a few of these are based around the industry standards and what other comparable cities and areas do. So we're going to be looking at the number of access points that you can have for the development type. We also have some recommendations on the spacing between those access points. So again, this is really just for some information now, and then as we work with the city to finalize these recommendations, then you can choose to carry these forward into a more formal ordinance if you desire to do that. So the next one is on spacing and the distance that you would like to see between, this is essentially driveways, between access points. And there are situations where you may even want to consider things like frontage roads in more commercial dense areas so that you control the number of times people are coming in and out of a roadway. And then the last piece in here that we have recommendations on are corner clearance. So how difficult is it to navigate turning movements throughout the area? So again, these are recommended distances and things that we've based on industry standards, and then as we finalize this, we can adjust these for what makes the most sense for your community. And then you'll also see in the report we have the different roadway classifications and what that means and what that looks like for the roads here, and then opportunities for considering some of the access control recommendations later on in the report. So you'll see what we call a typical section, which is basically what does that roadway look like here. So this is an example here of a principal arterial roadway. And that's the most of the presentation, but I want to show you our geographic information system, and hopefully it will load up. I think I have to end this. Give me just a second. All right, there we go. So what we've prepared here, this is what we call a story map. And this is where the staff will have access to this and all the data that's involved in it. But we wanted to share with you what it has. So it has a bit of a background of everything that we did, what was the type of, what was the purpose of the study, and how did we get to the recommendations. And then you'll see a series of maps throughout this database. And this starts with just an overview, and then this is a tool that can be used. You can zoom in and out, and as you zoom in, different features will show up, so you'll get more background images as you go through the map there. And then there's a section on what we did for the assessment and analysis work. So this was one I wanted to share with you, where we have the information on the different crash analysis that we did, looking at those different pinch points in the community. Let me scroll through the data and get you to the map of it here. And this will all be made available, so y'all will have access to this and you can scan through it. But what you see here, this is what we call a heat map. So all of those big yellow areas are where you have the most intensity of crashes. I don't think when anyone looks at this, they're surprised by where these locations are, but this does tell us about those conflict points between the access controls and how the roadway itself is used. So as we look forward for opportunities on roadway improvements, limiting the number of access points, having more like a barrier median in place, those types of recommendations are things that you can do to help reduce these conflict points in these different areas. Again, you can also zoom into all of these, and as you zoom in, you get more detail about the manner of the collision that was there and the different pieces of information. So a really useful tool to be able to use. And then there's a lot more data in here and more images around what that means, what the manners of collision means. And I'm gonna scroll through it a little quickly here. And then we get into some of the information again around the different access points and the type of roadway inclusion. So these are slider bars. So this is really what you have. Let me look at what this one said. This is coming out of the statewide model data information, and then you can kind of scroll through it and see where we've added in some future land uses and different ideas about some of the other plans that you have going on. So it's sort of combining those efforts together. And then these are more static images, but we will also provide this data for the team to have that's about the land use zoning, flood-prone areas, a lot of different information. And then again, we have another map. You can zoom in and out and kind of scroll between the future and proposed land use and some of the future development opportunities in the community. So this will be the final tool that gets left with the group to be able to use and be able to assess things. And like you said, you can zoom into all these different properties. So as you're looking at new developments or new development reviews, this is a tool that can be used to help compare that to what the roadway classifications are and how to use access management controls when you're considering those developments. So that's just a quick snapshot of what we've prepared. Like I said, this will all be available for you to peruse on your own, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to take a peek at it tonight. So, and with that, I'll be happy to answer questions or anything that you may have about the report.
We'll have access to this.
Yes, sir.
Online.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We'll actually turn the whole package over to the city for y'all to host it. So you can either keep it internal to yourself, or if you want to publish it, you'd be able to as well.
Our plan is to, when we get it, is, we have a GIS system now on our city website that if an engineer, developer, somebody needs to come in, they want to look at property, they can click on gas, water, sewer, contour maps and stuff like this. This will be added to it for them to have information of traffic counts and, what the roads are delineated to be. This has been a pretty good process. We started on this in August of last year.
Yeah.
Met every 2 weeks since August of last year, so
Yeah.
It'll be a good tool for us when we get it done.
What steps do we have to go through for a red light?
To get a red light warrant?
Like on a state road, like Lake Road?
So Lake Road and the bypass and stuff like that, those are TDOT controlled accesses. The driveways are permitted, all permitted through TDOT. roads that'll kinda help us in the future, like Parr Avenue, Mall Boulevard, that are collectors but city streets. You know, as all that land starts to develop out there, you know, give us some better technology about, you know, how to limit driveways, you know, make multi-use driveways, you know, shared access in and out, and cut down on the in and out points.
And if you get to the point of needing a signal, there are some standards on what warrants a signal, so the amount of traffic you need for the type of roadway it is. So that would be considered by the city as they go through do you have enough traffic to warrant needing the signal?
Okay, but with new development that we've got going on Lake Road, that's already the most congested road in the city, highway, whatever you wanna call it. I'm happy to be here. It just seems like that somebody would be looking at maybe putting a red light out there, I mean,
I think it has been looked at.
okay.
Will this information that you've shared with us, does that affect the regulations at state level on where these traffic control lights can be?
We don't have any control over state routes, so we've really.
This might or might not change the regulation.
Right, what it will do, it won't change the regulation for what the state would require that you do, but it would give you the information and data to help provide the information to them when you're making a request.
My concern is one particular intersection, because that's one I use all the time. But it may be the same one that Ricky was referring to, there at Pennell Lane.
Yeah.
By the Kroger store.
Yes, sir.
But we've been told that the reason I asked that question is because we've been told that the intersection is too close to Mall Boulevard which has a light. And to the other street to the south of that intersection, there's not enough traffic to warrant a light. So I was wondering if this study, because it falls within those yellow and sections there, obviously, that you've shown on the map.
Yeah, let me go back and take a look at that specifically, and I can help get you an answer for what that looks like in that area and what could potentially work, because I think what we're looking at as we go through these are there might be opportunities for other ways to access the roadway without having to have an intersection there, but I'll take a look at it and respond back to y'all.
We're in the process of adding 3 businesses on that corner.
Okay.
That intersection, that was one of the concerns.
Okay, yeah, we'll take a look at it, and then I'll get back with Scott, and he can share that with you.
You know, it's no surprise that the major crashes are on Lake Road there between the bypass and Mall Boulevard. I think the posted speed limit there is 30, and if you go 30, you're gonna get passed. Whereas most people are going faster than that. Do we have any intentions to try to enforce the 30-mile-per-hour speed limit in that area right there? I mean, y'all know it.
So I'll speak to that. We have someone here, so fairly often at night we do directed patrols, and a lot of that time is spent on Lake Road to get people to slow down. So I'm aware that Lake Road, Wade Hampton, several other roads, the bypass, St. John, all those areas. So I asked the chief probably months ago. I've got access to some of that data, and I would see a lot of legal traffic stops. And I had just noticed that probably 6 months ago or 7 months ago, there was to me, a bigger number of traffic stops. And I called the chief, and I, for one, like that, okay, because it gets us in the car, lets us see what's going on. We make those legal traffic stops. But what he told me was that in years past, because of our lack of numbers with officers, that all we were doing were chasing calls. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we spent time chasing calls and didn't have time to be proactive and do things like that. But since we're close to being fully staffed, we are being more proactive in certain areas and doing certain things to limit the speed, to pull cars over legally, to get us in the car to see what's going on. And I think that's been a big help to us. And we get calls from folks and businesses on Lake Road asking us to monitor that and do that. School zones the same way in the morning is doing that as well. So I, for one, am thankful to the men and women of the police department that do that to help slow people down and make it safer for all our residents and citizens. Is that kind of right?
Yes, sir. And also, the call volume has decreased a little bit due to these cameras.
Yes, sir.
They've been amazing.
They've been a major detriment to issues in this community that we once had. They sure have been.
You know, down on Lake Road, up in that area, what you're talking about, it's so many cars coming through there, it's kinda hard for them to pull them over.
I've seen.
You go with me at midnight and you can find out that it's not too hard.
Okay. No, I ain't gonna be up.
I understand. But I appreciate the job that you do in trying to protect our folks and slowing people down.
And I could add in addition to enforcement, just as you're looking at improvements moving forward, sort of observationally, the roads that you've mentioned, say John's, sorry, did I get it wrong? John's, and Lake Road especially, they're wide with a center turn lane. There's a lot of space, and visually it reads speed, right? Like when you drive it. So some of the recommendations as you think about access management moving forward, and if you're redoing some of those roads moving forward, creating some of those barriers, not having a full center turn lane, but creating medians and chopping that up a little bit and changing the access also helps slow people down a little bit as they come into a community, because you have more visual barriers that keep it from feeling like a speedway a little bit. So things to consider also as you're making new improvements or updating roadways, that you can consider some of those design considerations.
Speaking of communities, are you talking about, like, what are y'all's recommendations as far as like slowing down in like neighborhood areas? I don't recommend, I'm pretty sure you don't recommend speed bumps or anything like that, but what would be a recommendation that would be considered that you might think of?
Yeah, it really depends on the width of a roadway often when you're considering that. There's a few things that go a long way. Striping, I know it sounds very simple, but is really important. So often just a center stripe helps on smaller local roads if they're a 2-lane road. There are other things besides speed humps or speed bumps that they're little bulb outs, right? So on really, if you have a street where people are just really fast and you want to slow them down, you can do like decorative bulb out types things. We've also seen people pilot that type of program really simply, even with just planters that are movable, so you can test it and see if it helps slow people down. There's quite a few different types of we call that traffic calming for different areas. So and access management sometimes can be perceived as like that's making it harder to get in and out of businesses, but we often find that when access management is put in place, you actually have better circulation through businesses, and because people feel safer and they can get in and out of place. You might have to, do a little turnaround here or there, but it ultimately improves the conditions. So we can add some of that in there too, share some of those traffic calming features that you can use, because nobody likes a speed bump, right? So, yes, sir.
I see here where you have how respondents rank the areas of the city based on roadway and sidewalk needs. Who got interviewed about that?
I didn't hear what you said, Coach. Go.
Who you have here that respondents made
Sidewalks, just talking about
sidewalks and
Sidewalks,
Mm-hmm.
kind of.
who interviewed?
We did an online survey early on in the process that went out, and I think we had about 90 respondents to that survey. But that's where that information is coming from, is we had an online survey.
So nobody did a face-to-face, this was all online.
Right. Yeah, we didn't have a lot of engagement as a part of this project.
Let me throw my 2 cents in, please.
Sure, of course.
My 2 cents. I spoke to the mayor about an area where I live, about sidewalks. It's not a lot of space, but police lieutenant will tell you, in the mornings, late afternoons, if I'm walking or we're walking, I have to get in a ditch.
Mm-hmm.
I have to get in a state highway?
It's not a state highway, not up Finley Road. Yes, sir. Okay, and we've talked about that. I think the estimate to do that from, is it Martin Luther King to Isaac Hayes? Is that right? It's about $100,000, and then certainly if we want to put that in the budget and we'll vote to do it, put a sidewalk there. We've got to fill in the ditch, pipe it, and all that stuff. It can certainly be brought up in budget time.
Okay. Another thing, I kind of agree with putting in a speed breaker somewhere, especially where I live. Put in a sign that says 20 miles an hour. There are days when these young people that don't live in the neighborhood and don't respect the neighborhood and even live there and don't respect it, they gonna do 30, 40. And it's concerning to me that, and I appreciate the police have been monitoring, but like you say, you can't monitor all the time. And it's not, but you took the camera away, and I know what I was told about that, but it was a deterrent in our area, I promise you. But there's some things that's out there that I just want to throw out there.
Why'd they take the camera away?
Cost efficiency, I think. We did not have a bunch of activity over there. But
I'm gonna go on record that if something's not done at the intersection that Rick's talking about, at Lake Road, when everything gets completed, we're gonna need a bunch of speed bumps or a red light or something, 'cause it is gonna be severely dangerous coming out of there. And I understand that there's a red light real close, but something needs to be looked at there.
excuse me,
All right, anything?
I've been here
Go ahead.
75 years. Never in my life did I think that Dyersburg would have a traffic problem like we have. I always envisioned that I could go to the mall or go and not have to worry about bumper to bumper, but it's a congested area.
That-
Good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah, it is.
That car wash right now, you know,
That's true.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, Emily, appreciate
Thank
it.
y'all very much.
Thank you, appreciate you being here. Next item, on the agenda, report from Alderman, Mr. Baltimore, Edward, Coach Cole, Rick.
Just want to, and I know you have, everyone up here has had our neighbors across the river in the prayers the last few days. You know, the bad weather was predicted to be here as well as there, and we were blessed not to have it. But they weren't so fortunate over there, so keep those folks. And also want to congratulate the Lady Trojans for as far as they did in the state tournament and having a really, really good.
Thank you. Ricky Hammond.
Okay, I know from talking to Zach today, and y'all may have discussed this at the last meeting, I wasn't here. We're just waiting on the plant to open for paving to start. Good deal.
You
Joey?
have 3 lists?
No report.
Dennis, Vanetta. Let me say just a couple of things. So we did open the storm shelters about 12:45 Friday night. We had a lot of people at both shelters, so the crew was notified. I was at the EOC with Gloria for about 2 hours and made the rounds to the storm safe rooms. But we were very fortunate not to have anything here in Dyersburg. But I appreciate those people from the city that come and open in the storm shelter team that do that. And, you know, we built those things back in 2014 through a grant we got. And a lot of people thought it was kind of crazy to do that, but they're pretty full. So I am thankful that we have them and thankful for us not having anything in Dyersburg. Very lucky again, or blessed again, that did not affect us. So I passed out some information right before the meeting. I want to take just a minute to talk about this if I could. I made each of you aware on February 24th about House Bill 83 and Senate Bill 160, where, and that's on your first page there, being acted by the Tennessee General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, Tennessee Code annotated, I won't read all that, If a municipal governing body does not provide ambulance service when the boundaries of the municipality and the county in which city lies provides ambulance service within the municipality, then the municipal governing body shall reimburse the county for the ambulance service provided in proportion to the municipality's population to the population of the county according to the most recent federal census, provided that the reimbursement must not exceed 50% of the total cost of providing that ambulance service. So this is House Bill 83, Senate Bill 160, and what that means to the city of Dyersburg and almost every municipality in the state of Tennessee. The Dyer County population is 36,000, Dyersburg population is 16,000, so 50% of the population of the county is within the county, 44% is in the city. So based on this formula that's been proposed by the House and Senate, that cost on a yearly basis to the city of Dyersburg to provide that service, for the county to provide that service, is $550,000 on a yearly basis to the county. I personally don't feel that's fair because we live in the city, we pay county taxes. We are county citizens as well and pay county taxes. So I just gave you some information in your packet about that legislation that's before Nashville. And then I also came across a fiscal note. So every bill that's done in Nashville has a fiscal note on what it cost to that city or to those cities or whatever. And this was specifically done for Lake County. I won't go over all this, but on the second page, in this example, therefore, in this one example, the cities of Ridgely and Tiptonville would be required to pay Lake County approximately $412,000 for that ambulance service. And I highlighted the second page. The second highlighted says this legislation will result in mandatory increase in local revenue to counties and local expenditures incurred by municipalities exceeding $41 million for the next subsequent years. If this legislation were to pass, it takes effect July 1, 2025. And that is a conservative approach, as said so in this study that was done. This legislation will increase revenue to counties and expenditures incurred by cities in excess of 100 times the amount estimated in this example. So it's quite a costly proposition for us. I put in your packet also City and House Subcommittee that it's going to be heard before this Wednesday afternoon at 3 o'clock in Nashville. I gave you all the members of that subcommittee, their contact information, their phone numbers or email addresses. So that's the subcommittee. And their next piece of information is the City and County House Committee in full. All that same information is on there in the last page. City of Dyersburg State elected officials, Senator Ed Jackson, Representative Rusty Grills. So understand that the county met with West Tennessee Healthcare Thursday, agreed to, I think, $1.25 million subsidy to them for the next 3 years, unless that changes, but that's the last I heard this past Thursday when they met. But I just want to make you aware of that. It is a big deal for us. West Tennessee Mayor's Association is involved in it. We've sent a letter to Nashville opposing it on behalf of the cities and the citizens we represent, and also TML is aware of it, and they are in opposition to that as well. So I just want to keep you up to date. If you feel the need to call some folks and let them know how you feel about it, that you oppose it, I'd appreciate your help. Any questions about this?
What can we do specifically?
Contact these legislators on here, specifically ours represent us, and those that are on these lists as well, and those committees that will make that decision. I've talked to him. I don't know. I don't want to speak for Rusty. But I would encourage you to reach out to these folks that represent us, these folks on the committee, or any other representatives or senators that you may know to voice your opposition. And again, this doesn't affect just us. It's almost every city across the state of Tennessee. I think that. Yeah, I think so, if we have time. Let me read this one. Based on information provided by MTAS, this legislation could result in significant increase in expenditures to a majority of municipalities statewide. MTAS is only aware of 20 of over 345 municipalities in the state that provide their own ambulance services, not relying on the respective counties for such service. So has the opportunity to affect 325 municipalities in the state of Tennessee if this were to pass. So
If it fail, we're gonna, or will we have a lot of ambulance drivers, laid off?
If this fails, no, it wouldn't have anything to do with that, no.
The county taxes would go, well, with this way, your city taxes are going up too.
I mean, but if it, okay.
Because you gotta have ambulance service.
You know, for so many years, I know when I went to work for the ambulance service back in '82, it was county-owned. And I don't know what has changed, you know, at that time, the law was if you don't have any ambulance service, like for hospital care or something like that, which we did, and the county has to supply it. But there was never any question about the city having to pay for it, because you pay city and county taxes.
Right.
So,
Yes, so I don't, you know, state law, this is all in this fiscal note here, the fiscal review committee from the state. Every county is required to provide at least one licensed ambulance service through a county service or through the following options: licensed franchise for a private company, contract with public, private, nonprofit entity, so on and so forth. So it is a state law that the county provides that. But I don't know what's changed. I know, I guess 2 years ago, several counties began to pay a subsidy because I guess they were losing money. Maybe it was TennCare,
there's no
Medicare.
money making in an ambulance when you
Right.
spend that much money on a unit and the people. And you've got to be very competitive, because that was where years ago, the Memphis Fire Department had such a good deal that as far as pay and retirement, that, you know, counties were losing paramedics,
Right.
so.
Well, I just will make you aware of it. Subcommittee meets 3 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. We'll know more after they meet and see what happens there. If it passes out of subcommittee to go to full committee, that'll be at a later date. And I just want to make sure that y'all are aware of it, and I will continue to keep you apprised of it. Anything else? Thank you. We're adjourned.